The Apartheid Museum has launched a landmark exhibition entitled The Grave Injustice, Unfinished Business of the TRC. It's going to open today and will continue until March next year, and it explores South Africa's failure to fully implement the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It argues that the Commission and that omission has left a wound at the heart of the nation's psyche. Let's talk to the Apartheid Museum's Education Officer, Mduduzi Ntuli. Mduduzi, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Really do appreciate it. This is such an important, exhibition. And I think let's start off with this. When you think about unclosed wounds or open wounds in the psyche, the hearts and minds of South Africans and South Africa, what do you see and what is this exhibition aiming to do in identifying what the single most urgent issue is? Is it the pursuit of justice? Is it the pursuit of answers? Is it about reparations? What remains unresolved?
Well, Iman, thank you very much. Firstly, happy Heritage Day to you and the viewers. So the exhibition really looks at that transition moment from apartheid to our democracy and what promises were made. Promises to hold the perpetrators of the human rights violations accountable, and were those promises fulfilled? So it's more than about reparations, because when you really think about it, so many of the perpetrators that committed those atrocities, many of them are elderly, many of them no longer exist. So it's sometimes symbolic, and the accountability and the sense of justice has been served. So it's more than about financial means or reparations, but so much about justice. And so when we look at so it's more like an inquiry into why the delay in justice. And also, in a way, it's a tribute to the survivors and the families that continue to seek the accountability for what happened during apartheid. I mean, so that's how I look.
It sounds, Mduduzi, like a living memorial. And if I look at the words of Amelia Potenza, who is the curator of this particular exhibition, it's about bringing renewed attention to the pursuit by those families for justice. We know that in January of this year, there was that lawsuit that was filed against our government by 25 families of apartheid-era victims. I think the number that they're reaching for in terms of damages, and I think people should think about it less about the monetary terms, even though there's a significance to why they're asking for that money. It is also about ensuring that the loop is closed on the past in a way, even though I suppose the wounds will always stay with people. Talk to us about what we would encounter at the exhibition for those who are thinking, this might be something really important to pay attention to. What will they likely see and be asked to do?
Yes, so there are three sort of cases that illustrate sort of three themes: broken promises, state inaction, and the enduring resilience. So there are three cases that, just three out of many. So you have the inquest into the death of Iman Abdullah Heron of Cape Town in 1969, in September, in fact, the 27th of September, 1969. And then you also have the ongoing trial in the case of Nokuthula Simelane. You also have the unresolved disappearance of the PEPCO 3. So those are just some of the cases that people can expect that the exhibition will delve deep into, amongst other families as well. And we have a section that looks at, well, firstly, what was the TRC? What actually happened? Just sort of like a brief background. And then it goes into justice delayed. And then it goes into the case that you've just referred to, the constitutional damages case that has been brought by 25 families against our government. And the idea for that, it is a large sum of money that they are seeking, but it's not necessarily for enrichment, but it's to make sure that memorials are built so that people don't remember one of the striking things about this exhibition and these cases is that they hearken to more than just reparations and more than just seeking accountability, but also to make sure that people don't forget. They don't forget what happened.
It's very hard to gaze into the past, Mduduzi. Of course, this is, this gazing is something families will do every single day because there's a member of their family or several members of their families who are not there, so it lives with them. For South Africans who are going through so much, we think of our high levels of unemployment. We think about the misery that many people live in terms of their lived experiences, the violence that is so emblematic of the way that we live our lives. How do you convince people who might not also be directly involved in some of the brutality that is being highlighted again in the TRC? How do you invite them and get them to come? I know I've been to the Apartheid Museum. For me, it's a site of pain always because it's such a visceral reminder of where we come from and how bloody and how violent it was.
When you enter the Apartheid Museum, one of the first things that you see are 7 structures. We refer to them as the pillars of our Constitution. They remind us of really the beauty of our Constitution and hopefully the values that we will live our lives by. And so it's a hopeful story. It's a truthful story. We tell the truth. This particular exhibition tells the truth of what happened during apartheid. Those gross human rights violations that took place from the year 1960. So the period that we're looking at is 1960 all the way till 1994. So it's important for us to engage with the truth of that, but also to find lessons and to find hope, and that will encourage us to continue fighting for justice and accountability. But in terms of what else people can think about, trauma is very interesting, Iman, because it has a way of being passed on from one generation to another. So this is a critical moment, I think, for us to face the truth, to face our past again, and to find a way to deal with that trauma in a way that stops it, hopefully. Hopefully justice will be received by the families that are seeking justice in the case that we've been referring to, but also the next generation can be reminded the importance of courage and the importance of healing, but also confronting the truth and the truth of our past in our country, especially on such a day as Heritage Day. It's important for us to remind ourselves that, so much took place, so much pain happened in this country so that we can have the South Africa that we have today.
It's symbolically analogous, Mduduzi, to the Kigali genocide memorial, which I've been to. And as difficult as it is to be in a place where, there's the memorialization of a really violent moment in a country's history, as you say, it offers the opportunity for reconciliation and healing, and also the possibility of catharsis, even. But I want to go to the theme, as we start to wind down our conversation, is, museums and sites of memorial and remembrance sometimes can end up being passive sites, or sites that are limited to the experience that one person is going to have in that particular environment. How does the Apartheid Museum, through the presentation of this exhibition, intend to move beyond memory and back into public debate, back into activism, where something that is, inanimate in a sense, although history is never inanimate, it is animated always because there's a life and an energy to it. How does it connect to what's happening outside the Apartheid Museum's doors and some of the suffering and the lived experiences that I alluded to earlier?
Yes, well, what's incredible and striking about this exhibition is that it's sort of up to date. It has taken cases from the past, some of the inquests that were reopened in previous years, but it has also sort of like kept up to date with the happenings of, for example, the constitutional damages case. As it is happening, the exhibition has actually documented some of that progress up to date. And also there have been several consultations, obviously, with the affected families, some of whom will be present at the launch. So the exhibition, in fact, will be launched on Saturday, on the 27th of September, this Saturday, it is officially opened today to the public, because it marks such this important day and holiday. But the launch itself will be on the 27th of September, this Saturday. But also in terms of community engagement, it's important for museums to not be sort of like Eiffel Towers, isolated from the community, but to take what is happening and what people are actually going through and feeling right now, and documenting it and recording it. And I think this exhibition has really done that very well, in a way that is not traumatizing in a confrontational way, but in a way that shows us the importance of courage and accountability and continuous engagement with what's happening in our lives, in our families. And so the 25 families that have brought that case to court really are inspiring in that sense, that they're encouraging other families to talk about what happened in our family, in my family, and to remember those stories and to take those stories forward.
Yeah.